All right, David, why don't we get started? Are you ready?
Ready when you are.
Okay. Good afternoon. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. I'm Stephen Clark with the Mass Restaurant Association, and we are continuing our Webinar Wednesday series. Today, we have a very exciting webinar on meals and sales tax collection, which is becoming more and more of a bane of existence for operators. There's been a number of changes that have happened in Massachusetts collections in the last couple of years, and I know that we are fielding a lot of questions when it comes to meals tax, and I know a lot of individual operators are spending a lot of time vetting out their meals tax and spending more and more of their time going through this process. I'm proud to introduce and happy to introduce our partner with the MRA, which is DAVO. We first met David Joseph about a year ago and in different conversations around meals tax collection. And the good news is David's actually an operator. He ran a restaurant for almost 18 years down in New Jersey. So he knows exactly what we're going through. He knows exactly what we're going through on a day-to-day. And he promises to provide a quick and easy solution to some of the issues that are causing problems for restaurant operators when it comes to meals tax collection. So without further ado, I want to introduce our featured speaker today, David Joseph from DAVO.
Hey, thanks so much, Steve. Good afternoon, everybody. As Steve mentioned, I'm a former restaurant owner and now one of the co-founders of DAVO. My mea culpa is I ran a great restaurant, but I was terrible at sales tax. It was the bane of my existence, like it is for a lot of merchants. It is challenging. And, if we were all in a room, I would say, show of hands, please, who likes paying sales tax? Nobody likes doing this. It is onerous. It's a burden. We're required to do this by law. And so this is something that you have to take seriously and make sure that you do it correctly. As I mentioned, and we are all familiar, this is a manual process. Manual processes are prone to error. But the biggest thing to me is that most businesses just don't understand. You gain zero benefit from being a tax collector for the state of Massachusetts. It does not benefit your business in any way, shape, or form. It doesn't make it a better business. It doesn't get you more customers. It doesn't buy you more product. And therefore, you should expend as few resources on managing this as possible because it does not benefit the bottom line. So sales tax is really, there are three major problems or challenges around sales tax. The biggest challenge for most small businesses and most independent business owners, my biggest challenge, is cash management. Sales tax funds just get used as working capital. This is easy to do. It's human nature. They go into your bank account, especially today with the majority of your sales being credit cards and debit cards. And the funds end up in your bank account and it's easy to spend them. It's really, really hard to manage this. And this is the biggest challenge, I think. The next challenge is frequent sales tax returns. My bookkeeper would come up and say, our sales tax return is due in 2 days. And I'd say, didn't we just pay that last week? And so these frequent filings are a huge challenge. Missed filings and late filings have excessive penalties. I don't know if anybody's looked recently in Massachusetts, but the penalties run north of 20%. This is exorbitant. And you have to keep in mind that if you're using $4,000 or $5,000 of sales tax revenue to run your business, and you're paying a 20% penalty on that, this is a huge amount of money. And this comes directly off your bottom line. So there's tremendous risk and the opportunity for error, either whether it's a missed filing deadline or just not having enough money set aside, and to really harm your business. So DAVO is the solution that manages sales tax, puts it on autopilot. Let's go through each of these problems and I'll show you how DAVO solves this. Cash management, using your sales tax funds as working capital. DAVO solves this problem by setting sales tax aside daily. Setting it aside daily. This is actually the #1 reason that merchants sign up for the DAVO sales tax application. We set the sales tax funds aside daily. We do the cash management for you. So when your sales tax is due, it's not a huge surprise. Okay. When your sales tax is due, DAVO fills out the tax return and files on your behalf. So we fill out the tax return, make the payment to the state of Massachusetts on your behalf. So when it's due on the 20th of the month, you're not scrambling on the 19th of the month to come up with funds and to fill out the form or log into a state website and get it done. DAVO does it for you. Excessive fines and penalties. DAVO actually guarantees that we will file and pay your sales tax on time. If we file and pay it late, we will pay the fines and penalties. It's a pretty good guarantee, pretty good. So manual processes, they are no more. DAVO is an automated process that will set sales tax on autopilot. So how do we do it? How does DAVO work? DAVO works with data from your point of sale. We are integrated with all of the major points of sale or cloud-based points of sales that are used in restaurants today, including Clover and Square, Toast, Lightspeed, Upserve, and Spot On is actually on the horizon. It will be available in about a month or so. So to get started, a merchant simply downloads the DAVO app to their POS device. And this takes about 2 minutes to do it, quite a short process. And you enter a bank account and routing number, email address and phone number, and your e-file login and password. Very, very simple self-boarding processes to install DAVO on the POS. Once DAVO is installed, this enables us to see every transaction. So let's just say you're a coffee shop. You sell a $4 cup of coffee, tax rate is 8%. DAVO sees that transaction as a $4 sale with 32 cents of tax. Let's say someone comes in and says, this was the worst cup of coffee I ever had. I want my $4 back. You give a refund of $4, but you're also refunding 32 cents of tax. Let's say the local church comes in and says, I'm buying a cup of coffee and it's for, we're buying a lot of coffee. And we have a tax exempt number. It's a tax exempt sale. There, we would see a $4 sale tax exempt. So DAVO works with data coming from the point of sale. At the end of the day, we total up all the transactions. We know exactly how much sales tax was collected. We issue a debit request to your bank account, transfer the sales tax from your bank account to DAVO's tax holding account. This happens on a daily basis. The best way to think about this is DAVO does for sales tax what your payroll company does for payroll. They set your taxes aside each pay period. DAVO does it on a daily basis, okay? When your sales tax is due, DAVO fills out the tax return and files and pays the state. I actually forgot one little step in there. We actually do a reconciliation of the account 4 days after the first of the month. Since these are all cloud-based POS systems, if your system goes offline at some point during the month, we may miss collection of data. So by doing the reconciliation after the first of the month or after the end of the month, we make sure that we have collected all of the data. So we have a very high degree of accuracy by looking at each transaction and making sure we have accounted for it when we fill out your tax return, file, and pay the state of Massachusetts. Are there any questions about how DAVO, the actual DAVO application works?
So David,
right.
David, I'm in the Q&A right now, and there are no questions as of right now.
Okay, all right. Let's go on. So in order to keep you in the loop as to what's going on and to make sure that DAVO is actually doing their job, there are a couple of things that happen. One is we send you a daily email. The daily email has the amount of tax you collected and that we are setting aside, as well as your sales total from the previous day. So you get a daily notification. You also have credentials to a dashboard. And in this dashboard, we keep track of your net sales. Net sales are the gross sales of the business minus sales tax. And you can see it in that nice little graph at the top. There's the blue is your net sales. The little pink at the bottom is the amount of sales tax. On the right side of that dashboard, you can see the current filing period, when your next filing will be, and your connection status. Connection status means that your bank account is working okay, your state login credentials are all working okay. If one of those things were to fail, there would be a notification there. In the center, you can see at the bottom, those are the daily debits coming out of your account for sales tax. The status is pending when the amount of tax comes out of your account and it clears your bank account, that would change to settled. On the left side, you see the filings icon. This is where we store your tax documents. So all of your tax documents are stored in one place in the event that you have an audit or your accountant needs them. They are all stored here. Settings are pretty obvious. These are the basic settings for your account, your bank account information, and your state credentials. So the dashboard's nice, clean, books and records. All of this information is in one place. You don't have to go looking for it in boxes around your office or in a QuickBooks or accounting package. So DAVO is sales tax on autopilot, as I mentioned. We are $50 a month, $49.99 a month. There is no onboarding fee. We give you the first month for free, and there are no contracts. This includes daily set aside. We pay all of the ACH fees. We have transaction level detail, guaranteed on-time filing, state discounts. Unfortunately, Massachusetts does not have a state discount for on-time sales tax filing. Document storage, we cover that in the $49.99 a month. And we do offer a multi-unit discount depending on the POS system that you are using. So the price, if you compare it to using a bookkeeper or an accountant, is quite reasonable, or even doing it yourself, a couple of hours of your time each month. Time is valuable, and if you can outsource it with a guarantee that it will be filed and paid on time, that's a great service. So we talk about who should be using DAVO. This is a restaurant association, so it's all of the columns on all of the people in the left side under hospitality, restaurant, fine dining, anybody who is in the food service sector or retail. DAVO is not an e-commerce solution. We will have that shortly, but to our knowledge, nobody is shipping a cup of coffee across the state line, so we're not really concerned about e-commerce. You might notice in our logo that it is DAVO by Avalara is our technical name. Avalara is the world's leading sales tax compliance company, publicly traded on the New York Stock Exchange. We were recently acquired by them last spring, and we are super stoked to be part of this huge organization of thousands of employees. But DAVO's been around since 2015. We're actually now over 45 employees. We file sales tax in all states, plus the District of Columbia and Puerto Rico. We have POS integrations, 15,000 plus merchants. So we are not a fly-by-night company. We have grown and we continue to grow exponentially every month. And we want you to take advantage of the fact that there is automation out there to take over a task that you're currently spending time and resources on. And I think Warren from Pliables, this is a organization, they have 70 company-owned stores and I think about 140 franchises now. Their goal is to be at 2,000 in the next 3 years. But he says, sales tax is just another task that doesn't make you any money. So you should spend your valuable time. Why should you spend your valuable time on it? Which is what I'm saying. What I said earlier, you gain zero benefit from managing sales tax. So there is a solution out there. You should take advantage of it. I mentioned earlier reasons why people use DAVO. The number one reason is cash management, but you can be assured that we are here to support your efforts. We know how hard it is to run a restaurant. And if you go online and read our reviews, you will see that we make merchants' lives much better. So that said, we do offer support. We have unlimited phone support for tax questions and getting DAVO set up in your point of sale system. We offer support bilingual, Spanish and English. If you are a Spanish speaker and do not feel comfortable speaking about taxes in English, we have people on our operations team to support you. I am here as a direct contact to always support our restaurant customers. It's one of the things I do here, and you're more than welcome to reach out to me at any time. But I encourage you to go take a look at our website, the DAVO sales tax website. There are lots of good resources on there. There's actually an entire page on there devoted to the state of Massachusetts and the 10 things you should know about sales tax in Massachusetts.
David, we've had a couple questions come in. Is now a good time to
Absolutely.
take a couple
Let's
questions?
do it. Yeah.
So first question is, so Massachusetts has about 180 cities and towns that have the local option meals tax, and it gets remitted to the state as same of it. We assume that DAVO is set up to handle jurisdictions with different tax rates, et cetera.
We are. So keep in mind, DAVO works with data. So you have to program your point of sale with the correct tax rates. And if you need advice on that, we can help you with that. But you need to program the point of sale. We recognize where it is coming from, but in Massachusetts, it all does get paid to the municipality, and they divvy it up or it gets paid to the state and they divvy it up to the municipality based on your location in the tax return.
All right. Okay. And then the dashboard, is that a smartphone integrated? Is it on an app or is it on a desktop? How does someone have access to their dashboard?
That's a great question. I am sure it is available on a smartphone, but I will confirm that and let you know. I've never had that question before. It's a good one. But our tech team is pretty savvy, and I know that they make things smartphone. We know our customers use their phones for everything, so I'm pretty sure it is available, but I will check on that.
Okay, and we also have a couple of questions that have come in on point of sale systems. The first one is, are these the only point of sale systems that DAVO works? Is there more coming soon? It does say coming soon on the board, so I assume so. And then the second one is, if you're not partnered with a POS system, is there a way you could submit the info manually and DAVO could still process it?
Okay, first question, are there more coming soon? There are. We are always looking for partners, new POS partners to come on board. And so if you have a POS system that's not listed here, as long as they are cloud-based, we must be able to get the data from them. We are working, I will say we are working with NCR. So I do believe Aloha and NCR Silver are in the pipeline. I don't have a time on those, but those are big restaurant POS systems. As the other way to enter data would be through QuickBooks Online. If you are set up as an invoicer, like a caterer who is generating invoices, you would do it through QuickBooks Online. In answer to the question, can you enter data manually? No. And the reason for this is we are an automated process. We are making a guarantee to you that we will file your tax return and on time. And because of that, we can't be chasing people for data. So we rely on the POS system for the data.
So David, I've got a personal question kind of based on operational experience. Oftentimes people refuse to outsource things, right? They want to hold control over all things, and for the cost of an entree, they can take this one major issue off their plate. If I'm somebody on the outside that's struggling with, figuring out whether or not I should do this, what are some of the indicators that you'd look at on your P&L or your cash that would say, now's the time for you to be thinking about getting this off your plate and giving it off to somebody else?
Sure. Great question. Great question. First of all, have you paid a sales tax penalty ever in the past? Because I can pretty much guarantee you the minimum penalty you would have paid was $1,000. And DAVO is $600 a year, guaranteed, filed and paid on time. So you can look at it as an insurance policy. You will never be filing and paying your sales tax late. Okay. The other thing is, you need to be honest with yourself and say, are you using sales tax money to run your business? Are you using your sales tax revenue as working capital? And when sales tax comes due on the 20th of the month, are you scrambling to come up with that money? And if you think about it, at some point during the year, you will probably have a payroll due and sales tax due either on the same day or very close to each other. And you will be faced with the decision of paying sales tax or paying your employees. And that's an easy decision. You have to pay your employees or else they're not going to show up for work the next day. And you will then incur the penalty of sales tax. And I totally understand this. You know, I struggled with sales tax because I didn't manage the cash. And you have to figure out in your business the priorities and where are you wasting money on penalties and interest on sales tax when it's coming right off your bottom line, and it just because you're not managing it well. I encourage people, there's a great case study. Is it on your website, Prince's Pizza? Steve from Prince's Pizza? Do you know?
I'll have to check and see if it is.
Okay.
I don't know at this moment.
We can send it around. Our marketing team did a great interview with him, and Steve came to me, and you know, I talked to his manager. I forgot how I met her, and she went to them, and they are just thrilled with DAVO. You know, here's a well-established business that people think, oh, you know, they have the resources. This can't be a problem for them. And he told me it was just such a huge, huge challenge for them. I think I remember his Toast sales rep recommended DAVO to him. And he just said, this is one of the greatest things they've done because it has just taken away the emotional, visceral reaction of having to write that check to the state of Massachusetts every month and you get nothing for it. It doesn't bring you more customers. It doesn't add to your bottom line. And outsourcing this is one of the first things you should do. You should outsource your payroll, you should outsource sales tax, and you should outsource your tax filing to an accountant.
Hey, Dave,
So,
we've got another POS related, a couple of POS related questions here. Is there a crash system backup instructions once you sign up in case the POS goes down?
So if the POS goes down, DAVO will recirculate and collect the data when it comes back online. And this is the reason that we do a reconciliation 4 days after the close of the tax period. So the tax period closes on the 30th or the 31st of the month, 28th in February. 4 days later, DAVO goes back to the POS system and gathers all the data again. And those two numbers, the daily transactions and the roundup at 4 days after the end of the tax period, have to match up so that we know we collected all the data. So if the POS system does go offline, we will still go back and collect the data.
Awesome.
And then in Massachusetts, there's been a recent change with meals tax reporting where it has changed from breaking out alcohol sales versus meal sales to breaking it out a cash versus credit payment. And this is actually the first month that that's been in effect. Is this something that DAVO would be able to do on its own, where it would be able to read a cash transaction versus a credit transaction?
Yes.
Or would that have to be programmed in?
Nope, we see that in the API. We see that data, that level of data of the cash and credit card.
One more on POS. Understand the variability in the end. You've got a lot of stuff here and a lot of good stuff here. I mean, the kind of the big guys, Square Toast, Spot On, who's coming up, but there's variability in all of those systems, and with the operators kind of getting dinged on a lot of add-ons when it comes to technology. What's the implementation look like to put the DAVO system on your POS?
It's a self-boarding process. It literally takes 2 or 3 minutes.
Awesome.
You don't need an IT team to do this.
Good.
And we have a support team. If you get stuck at any point, our support team will walk you through it and help you get it done.
Okay. I got one last question here. It says, and interestingly enough, in the world of technology, they still want that relationship, right? It says, where are you based out of? Do you have a mass-specific representation?
We are based in Portland, Maine. So we are right up the road from you. You're more than welcome to come up, visit our offices. We'll take you out to lunch.
Awesome.
or vice versa. If you want us to come down to your place, we'll come down.
Perfect.
David, how long is the integration process? Once an operator decides to partner with DAVO, what's the time commitment of an operator to get it up and running? 2
minutes. It starts instantly. If you you go to the DAVO website or to any of your partner websites, they all have integration pages. I always recommend going to DAVO's. It's just easier because they're all there. I can actually, why don't I just show you that? How about that? That's easier. So it's DAVOsalestax.com. The website looks like this, and you click on your POS partner, and it will launch you right into the process. You fill this out, connect your device, and it takes you right to the boarding pages. Super easy. It's going to ask you for an email address and phone number. You hit next. It's going to ask you for a bank account and routing number. Hit next. It's going to ask you for your e-file login and password. If you do not know it, don't worry about it. We will come back to you and get it from you. As soon as you enter your bank account number, DAVO will start working. We will start collecting sales tax the day you install the application on your POS system. One other thing I just want to mention is if you have back taxes owed, I always encourage people, go to the state, get on a payment plan with them, get on DAVO immediately. We are finding from state governments that when they hear that merchants are using DAVO, they have a little bit more leverage with the state when it comes to negotiating penalties and interest. And we have heard from merchants that I owed money. I told them I was on DAVO, and the state said, if you can stay 4 months on DAVO or 6 months on DAVO, we will wait. Then we can talk about waiving some penalties and interest.
So David, that brings up a really good point for those people out there that are having issues. Can they reach out to you as a consultant and to assist? It sounds like the answer is yes, but to get them back on track and get moving in the right direction.
Absolutely, reach out to me. You know, happy to help them. Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay, we are right at 30 minutes. I'll give another minute or two for some questions to come in. But I just want to make a plug for David's company, and also at the MRA we've been out there and having conversations of encouraging people to not treat sales tax as part of the P&L. It's solely it's something you're a collector on behalf of the state, and if you start dipping into it, it's going to cause problems. And a lot of first-time operators, when they start out, they see that as extra revenue and extra capital, and it's a never-ending circle of trying to get out of it and repaying yourself back and trying to build that. So we think this is a great solution, and I would encourage everyone to give it a spin. Reach out to David or reach out to Kerry or myself at the MRA if you have any questions. And thank you very much for attending.